Here we go again. Yeah. Let's get to it. And that's a tour with a U because I always got you in mind. Keep that in mind. Got something good for y'all. Chop it up today a little bit. Started off for a round of applause. We got something good. First of all, I want to say something. Let me get right here. Y'all need to stop playing around with Kenyon Martin. Acting like that man won't no beast. Yeah. Stop playing around with Kenyon Martin. Stop playing with that. Look at me right now when I say this to you. Stop playing with Kenyon Martin now. I don't know if y'all really know that man's skill set. If you any sort of fan of the NBA, maybe you're not old enough, because I think Kenyon Martin, he was playing in the early 2000s, maybe some of the late 90s. If I ain't mistaken, he came out of Cincinnati, #1 recruit. I remember him from Cincinnati. He was an animal. Kenyon Martin was an animal, y'all. I don't know how else to describe it. Before he hurt his knee, I don't know if he broke his leg. He broke his leg, and I want to say the final game of his career in college. And people thought so highly of him that they still selected him #1 with a leg injury that probably could have ended his career. Most players, some players have probably had that same injury and, a shell of themselves if they got around to playing again. So I wanted to point that out. People talking about Kenyon Martin like he won't that good and he couldn't. Man, Kenyon Martin was a multifaceted player, 6'8". I think he overachieved for what his situation, coming out and had to go through the rehab of getting his leg back together. And Draymond Green took shots at him. I think Kenyon Martin started it on Gil's Arena podcast when they was talking about the bullying. Now, I've been watching Draymond Green since Michigan State. He's a hustler type player. He's very scrappy. I think he has a high basketball IQ. His basketball IQ, I don't know for sure, but I think his basketball IQ is higher than Kenyon Martin's. He's not a high flyer. He's not a jump shooter. A lot of the stuff he does on the basketball court may go unnoticed, but I think he's a defensive, like, glue guy. He might be a better defensive player than his stats lead on to be. Questionable if he's a better defensive player than Kenyon Martin. Questionable. Offensive is no comparison. Kenyon Martin was way better than him. He could sell tickets with his offense. He could sell tickets and fill up a crowd, fill up a stadium, fill up an arena with his offense. Very high flyer. Think he had a mediocre jumper. It wasn't, he wasn't going to lose a game with his jump shot, and I wouldn't put it in his hands to win the game with his jump shot either. But I think as his career grew, his, mid-range game got more reliable. Once he couldn't rely on his ability to jump and his speed anymore. I think for his size, he may have been an undersized power forward. He was one of those tweeners that maybe not had the best dribble. He wasn't turnover prone, but he may not have had the best dribble. Comparison, I give handles to Draymond Green. Athleticism, I would give to Kenyon Martin. Basketball IQ, I would give to Draymond. Offensive prowess, I would give to Kenyon. Defensive prowess, I split it down the middle because, like I said, a lot of the things that Draymond do, you can't quantify. He's a very, heady player. Best basketball skill set, I would give it to Kenyon Martin. Best basketball mind, I would give it to Draymond Green. For him to say Kenyon Martin was an underachiever. That's a shot. Uh, do I think both of them were bullies? I think they both were recognized as tough guys. I don't think Kenyon Martin was a bully. I think he was a stand your ground type of fella. I think Draymond Green goes above and beyond, and you could classify him as a bully. So, myself, I was more of a. I would like to see Kenyon Martin play, preferably, over Draymond Green. I don't know if y'all agree or not, but that's just my assessment. I think different teams would have coveted Kenyon Martin had he not gone to the New Jersey Nets. Like I say, he was the #1 draft pick. Draymond Green, on the other hand, I can't see a lot of teams craving or there being a super high demand for Draymond Green. Locker room, who's better in the locker room? I don't really know. I never heard anything about Kenyon Martin being a cancer to the locker room. On the other hand, you see Draymond Green work. He run players out of there. He got KD out of there. He got Jordan Poole out of there. He, punching on, like they got video clips of him punching Jordan Poole in the face, and that guy ain't his size. But I ain't gonna say he got picks. I ain't gonna say that man got picks, because I seen him grab Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert, 7-footer. He grabbed that man up like he and Rudy Gobert ain't do nothing. He ain't do nothing. He ain't fight back. He ain't do nothing. So I wouldn't say he pick fights or he got picks. I think in the swing of things, he'll snap on you. He'll snap. He take it past basketball sometimes. Some of the plays I see him make, like I done seen him kick people in the testes. I done seen that man kick people in the testes. So I can't really sit here and say that he got picks. I could say he's a little bit more dirtier than Kenyon Martin. Kenyon Martin didn't play that dirty brand of basketball. He played that dirty brand of basketball like he a Detroit Piston bad boy. Matter of fact, he from Michigan. So he might have grew up the Detroit Pistons bad boys style of play in him. So if I had to compare him to anybody, he don't get as many rebounds as Dennis Rodman, but he got that Dennis Rodman type game where there's a lot of antics. They say Dennis Rodman was very high IQ as well, even though he used to wild out. But I can't sit there and say that that's my brand of basketball that I like to see. Now, they both played along great players. I think Steph Curry would be the most standout player of them. He's renowned. He didn't always, he when he was in college, he was nice at Davidson. When he got to the pros, he was always a 20-point player. And then, about 5-6 years in his career, I think he just broke out and became the Steph Curry that everybody know. With Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and a plethora of good players such as KD, Iggy. They always had some good teams at that time period when they was winning championships. They had some good teams. They had the best jump shooting team, I think, overall in NBA history, counting him and Klay on the same team. They changed the way basketball is played. Mark Jackson helped them usher that style of play in. Steve Kerr came in, took it over the top. They started winning them chips. The only thing I say that separates Kenyon Martin from Draymond Green, if I had to, I say the championships. The championships and maybe the basketball IQ. I'm not going to take anything from Kenyon Martin's IQ. I didn't know him for being the smart, but he may have been. It didn't show up. You could see Draymond Green's IQ on that basketball court. You can. Because he ain't shooting. He ain't going to the cup. He doesn't have too much of an offense. Like, he ain't no stat sheet fuller, so you can kind of see his IQ at work while he on the basketball court. You can see his impact when he get off and on the court. You know, when he on that court, the game changed. You know, even though he not scoring a lot of buckets, he making sure the right plays being made. He communicating with teammates. And on the other hand, when I seen Kenyon Martin play, man, that man was a walking highlight. He was excitement. You know, he coming through with the big boy blocks. He dunking. He getting good rebounds. You know, he playing usually against the best big man on the opposing team. I think when they was in the finals, he was matched up with Shaquille O'Neal. Now, Shaquille 7 foot and some change, 3 and some change. I think Kenyon Martin might have been 6'8", 100 and something, may have been 200 on a good day. But he was no match for that man. He was no match for that man. And I just, you know, when people just say, oh, Draymond Green way better, that man ain't had no off, he can't dribble. And I say, man, maybe they didn't see. Maybe they didn't see, they wasn't around to kind of see this man in action. And, you know, they may have been too young because, like I said, he was late 90s, early 2000s. I think time LeBron and them got to the league, he was almost a wash. He still stuck around and he went to Denver Nuggets or something like that. But he started off at the New Jersey Nets. They the Brooklyn Nets now. But I tip my hat off to both of them. 2 different types of players. You know, if you had that type of team where you needed that type of player, maybe you would lean towards Draymond. But if you trying to sell tickets, maybe you would lean towards, you know, you trying to have an exciting high flyer on your team, you would lean towards Kenyon Martin. Myself, I prefer a Kenyon Martin. You know, I would never go out and seek Draymond. You know, if I had him on the team and I found out, like, you know, the impact he had on the game, I would appreciate him. But I would never go out and just seek somebody like Draymond. Because, like, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. You know, now, if you had him on your team and he did all that stuff, you know, he's a treasure. But it's just funny how people are just, you know, so contrary. You know, you're looking at the same thing, and people had 2 polar opposite viewpoints. So, you know, that's what I wanted to talk about. Just that in itself, because that joint buzzing and buzzing. You know, you had your Max B, he home. You know, people excited about that. He the wave. Now it's this Kenyon Martin and Draymond Green going back and forth. You know, that's the big story right now. Thanksgiving was good to me, y'all. Thanksgiving was good to me. You know, I posted something yesterday, but I ain't really talk about Thanksgiving, man. I had that smoked turkey. I wanted that smoked turkey last year, but I got set up. I was supposed to get some smoked turkey. We went over my sister-in-law's house for the smoked turkey. I ain't want to go, but I was like, if y'all get a smoked turkey, I'll come. And we get there, and there's no smoked turkey. They say we couldn't find it. Man, I ain't even want to eat Thanksgiving, so I've been waiting since last year for a smoked turkey because I really wanted it fried, but I don't want to play around and blow nothing up because I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, that smoked turkey was everything that I was craving for that whole year, and I enjoyed it. And I don't know if it's just me. I'm about to wrap this up, but I don't know if it's just me, y'all. But do it seem like economically, financially, things is getting tighter? Like, it's tight. Like, ooh. It's tight. You know, I'm having less money. You know, I work hard, and it still feel like I'm sinking like I got concrete tied to my feet. Is that just me? You know, I drive for a living. Sometimes when I park my truck, man, I see people with a lot of possessions in their car. So many possessions in their car, there's only room for them in the driver's seat. Stuff everywhere. You can't even see out the back window. It seems like they living in their car. And from their car, they going to work right at the store. And when they get off, they go in the car, and that's their resting place. That's where they lay their head at. That's their home. They ain't got no permanent address. Y'all be careful protecting resources now. And I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. I'm snapping out of it. I came to a realization, you know, because sometimes, you know, I try to bite off more than I could chew. Pause. No Diddy. I try to bite off more than I could chew. And sometimes, you know, I fail. I don't accomplish exactly what I was. And I had to take a step back and kind of recalibrate because, you know, I'm lucky to have achieved as much as I did in some of these endeavors because sometimes I'm starting from scratch, zero. And to even get proficient at it was a miracle in itself. So I said to myself, man, stop looking at yourself like you're a failure. And like, it's amazing that you achieved what you achieved because you didn't know nothing. You wasn't like, this ain't your line, this ain't your field of work, but somehow you in it trying to do your thing. Be proud of what you did. And with that, I'm about to wrap it up. I'm about to wrap it up and take it out of here. Let me see. Yeah, I just wanted to show that zoom a little bit. I'm out of here, y'all. Y'all know what it is. Let's get to it. And that's a tour with a you, because I always got you in mind. And I am King Sam the Powerful. And y'all, my go-getters.